Barrows is widely regarded as one of RuneScape's perfect updates, but on launch, it was the exact opposite. Let's explore why Barrows and its rewards were some of the most hated content for many of the game's players, especially its wealthiest ones, and the simple fix that made it perfect. Our story begins all the way back in 2005. Jagex is just about to release an update that they teased over a year ago, the Barrows minigame. Deep in the swamps of Mauritania is a gravesite where 6 ancient warriors, the Barrows brothers, are resting. Digging into each gravesite with a spade allows you to break into their tombs and defeat 5 of them, until you come across one tomb that, instead of having a brother, has a secret entrance. If you enter it, you're placed into a maze of tunnels, where you'll encounter the final brother. In the center of this maze is a reward chest, which you can open to obtain armor pieces from the brothers you've defeated. This armor would become the new best gear in the game, and could make you rich, assuming you could put your morals aside.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
Today, Barrows is seen as a relatively easy challenge, baby's first boss type content, but you'll soon see that on release, Barrows was the game's hardest and most punishing content yet. This is Billy. He's been playing RuneScape for a while. He's a member, has around 80 combat, and knows a fair bit about the game. So, Barrows releases, Billy gears up in his best equipment for all 3 combat styles, fills up his inventory with food and a few prayer potions, and is on his way to Barrows. For most players, the starting area would be Canifis. Now, Billy doesn't have an ecto-file, fairy rings don't exist yet, and he doesn't have access to the Canifis teleport on the ancient spellbook. To get that, he'd need to complete the Desert Treasure quest, a quest that back in the day would be considered endgame extremely difficult content. So, for Billy and most other players, his journey would begin by walking to Canifis from East Varrock Bank. So he gets to Canifis, takes the underground shortcut behind the bar, and is placed halfway through the swamps of Mauritania. As he continues south, ghasts begin attacking him, and by the time he makes it to the swamp bodhi and out of the swamp, half of his food has been rotted by the ghasts. A minute or 2 of walking, and he finally makes it to Barrows. And he forgot his spade. He could just grab one from this little house in front of Barrows, but that didn't actually exist yet. So it's back to Varrock to repeat the whole process. So this time, Billy doesn't forget his spade, he kills a few brothers, and is doing pretty good. But then he gets to Darrock. He runs out of prayer points mid-fight because they're periodically drained whenever you're inside the tombs, and his protect from melee prayer drops. But he figures, I can finish off Darrock with just food, it'll be fine. But he doesn't know that the lower health Darrock is, the higher he hits. So Billy gets hit a 57 and is smacked back to Lumbridge. Since it's 2005, his items aren't sent to a gravestone where he can collect them later. They appear on the ground instantly for anyone to see and steal. Just like that, Billy has lost pretty much all of his gear and has to start grinding to get it back. Billy got bored of trying to get his gear back, and he wants to try a strategy one of his friends told him about, using a cannon. So, with slightly worse gear and a cannon, he makes his way back to Barrows. He puts down the cannon in one of the crypts, wakes up a brother, and runs behind a coffin so it can't attack him. This takes an incredibly long time, but was a popular strategy for lower level players back then, and is occasionally still seen today. So Billy kills 5 of the brothers and clicks on the tomb that has a hidden tunnel. He enters and has no idea where to go. Most of the doors are locked and his minimap is disabled. He finally makes it to the proper door, solves the puzzle, and opens the chest, and is rewarded for his efforts with a Guthan's helm, one of the brothers' equipment. He sells it to someone in Falador Park for a whopping 10 million gold, because prices are crazy on the first day, and forgets all about the gear he lost. But you may be thinking, where was the 6th brother? No 6th brother ever appeared when he was going through the hidden tunnel maze. Well, today, the last brother will randomly appear when you're going through a door in the maze, or if that doesn't happen, he's guaranteed to appear when you try to open the chest. But for the first 5 months of Barrows, Barrows, you'd only encounter the last brother randomly through doors, meaning if you wanted to fight all 6, you'd have to spam a door over and over again until the last one appeared. This wasn't the only clunky mechanic that existed back then either. You used to be able to use your friends as a safe spot. If you had a friend stand between you and the brother you were fighting while you used a magic or ranged attack, the brother would just sit there until it died. Clunky mechanics aside, it's still for the most part the same Barrows that we know and love today. So what made it so hated back in 2005? Let me introduce you to the Dragon Chain Body. Back in 2005, this was the most coveted item in the game. To give you an idea of how in demand it was, it sold for anywhere from 30 to 40 million GP, and the most expensive party hat back then capped out at around 9 million. This is because of one of 2 factors. First, it's fairly rare. You can receive one as a drop from the Cowfight Queen at a rate of 1 in 128 kills, but getting even 1 kill back then was incredibly difficult, as she was the hardest boss in the game at the time. Killing her by yourself was absolutely unheard of too, so you'd need a few friends that you could trust not to scam you out of your split if they got the drop. Or if you're really patient, you can kill Dust Devils for a chance at receiving one at the absolutely insane rate of 1 in 32,768 kills. Second, it was a huge upgrade over the next best thing, the Rune Plate Body. And actually, let's add a third point. It looks really cool. The Dragon Chain Body is one of the most nostalgic items in the game for me, and I was rocking this thing all the time back when old school first started up. Anyway, pretty much every chest piece of melee Barrows equipment massively overshadows the Dragon Chain Body. Although you need 10 more defense levels in order to wear them, they were much less rare and didn't require a group to obtain. But perhaps the most striking feature of all is, unlike today, they didn't degrade. Today, you can wear a piece of Barrows equipment for about 15 hours worth of combat before it breaks and you need to repair it. On launch, however, you could wear it as long as you wanted and you would never have to repair it. This probably doesn't come as much of a surprise, but players were kind of pissed, especially those that had spent the massive amount of time or money obtaining a Dragon Chain Body. The chain body began crashing just hours after the update launched, and Barrows equipment, despite being brand new and outrageously priced, was still seen as a great deal compared to forking out the insane cost for a Dragon Chain. As you might expect, RuneScape's forums were soon lit up with complaints about everything I just discussed. Jagex knew pretty much immediately that this time the players were actually right. Barrows equipment was too powerful for how much easier it was to obtain and how much cheaper it was, especially if you consider the set effects. You know how I mentioned earlier how the lower Darok's health gets, the amount of damage he does also increases? Well, the same effect applies to his armor. If you wear a full set of Darok's equipment, have the other best in slot items for the time, drink a super strength potion, and are on 1 health, you can hit a whopping 68. Not even the Cowfight Queen can hit that high. Players had genuinely never seen numbers like this before. Plus, by the end of the first week, the entire set costs less than a Dragon Chain Body. Every set has their own different effects. I won't cover all of them, but most of them are pretty useful. Not you. But not even including their effects, they were all now the new best armor in the game for every combat style, and nothing else came even close. So on the same day that Barrows released, Jagex would put out a pretty unique news post. They warned players that they would possibly be making some balancing tweaks to the Barrows armor, and recommended anyone interested in buying them from another player to hold off. If they nerfed the armor into the ground, it would crash pretty hard, and they'd have a whole new angry mob on their hands. So they took an approach that had never been done before in RuneScape. A week passed and the rebalancing changes went live, but to players' surprise, every item's stats remained exactly the same. Instead, now the armor would slowly degrade while being used in combat. The stats stay the same while degrading, but after about 15 hours of use, the armor will break and will need to be repaired. It was a simple change, but it not only stabilized the dragon chain body and other items in a similar position, but kept them relevant too. Many players would choose to save their Barrows equipment for more high-stakes scenarios, like bossing or PvP, and would use lower tier gear for minigames and Slayer. It was a genius solution that instantly took care of the public's biggest concerns with the update. That change, along with a few minor tweaks, are now why many see Barrows as a perfect update, and really one of the best updates ever made to RuneScape. Don't forget to check out War Thunder in the description below to get the massive bonus pack I mentioned earlier. It's free to play on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And after that, check out the video on the right. It's all about content deleted from RuneScape, some of which nobody has ever seen until now.